Hello and welcome to the Darkmount video review for Mastermind Creations Reformatted R-05 Fortis and kind of Reformatted R-03 Bovis. I'm going to be focusing on Fortis for the most part, but since they share a mold, I will point out differences when I see them. So you will notice that I actually have the unopened box here, which is going to be a rarity for me. I usually don't wait to open my figures. I do like to get my hands on them for a while because I do not use instructions when transforming figures, so having a little while to sit and figure them out myself is always beneficial. Since I do know this mold already, I've had Bovis since it was released, I don't think that's going to be an issue. So I'm going to do something a little out of character in this review, and I'm going to actually take a look at the box, because I think Mastermind is doing some really awesome things that aren't totally above and beyond in terms of what other third-party companies have been doing, but they pull it off very well. So on the front, you have a nice, kind of looks like a CGI cat-ish rendering of the figure, along with some cool artwork, some cool font. On the side, you have another smaller version of that same rendering, and some foiled letters, and another foiled Feral Rex silhouette over here, which is pretty cool. On the bottom, you have warning and all the social networks and blah 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 blah. Other side, same thing. Although instead of a rendering, this appears to be a shot of the actual toy. And on the back, you have all the different product shots. So you have the robot modes, robot mode without artillery, beast modes, another robot mode, and foot mode. And the box does open, so you get the nice Fortis artwork there, and you see the figure in package. Now it looks like he comes with two swords that are similar to the ones that Bovis has, whereas his were a little spikier. Those are kind of more Shredder from Ninja Turtles. And it looks like he has some different guns instead of the ones that Bovis came with. So we'll get this guy opened up and we'll take a look at him. And here you have Fortis and Bovis in their robot modes. For the most part during this review, like I said earlier, I'm going to focus on Fortis, mostly due to the fact that he is the newer figure and they share the mold. There are a couple small differences in molding, like the chest and stuff like that, and I will point those out probably during the articulation. So in terms of the weapons, the swords that come with Fortis are much spikier and a little shinier. They're showing up as much more silver on my camera than these guys are for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just the way they're catching the light or what. They do seem to have a little bit more silver area on them. And instead of the handguns that Bovis came with, Fortis has kind of giant blocky cannon things. Not the sleekest, but they look like they would pack a punch. And this little barrel right here is extendable and collapsible. So as you can see, Bovis is a little bit taller just due to the horns, but they are the same mold. They share a majority of parts. Their paint schemes are a little bit different in terms of the dual colored bits and the way the actual colors are split up in terms of like the feet being the accent color and all that. The biggest difference between the two obviously, is this chest area right here. There are... Well, in reality, it's just a separate plastic piece that's been fitted over top of this default chest, really. There's not a huge amount of variance there. I think this silver plating is not included. You can actually see the seam here where it was placed over the chest. I think that does a really good job of differentiating them, to be honest. Those look like two different chests to me. They seem to share this kind of interesting motif, which I like, but they don't look like the same figure. They look like very closely related figures, but they are supposed to. So I'm very happy with these. So, whereas Bovis had this kind of grimacy snarl, Fortis has a more uptight looking grimacy snarl. So there's that. They're both not happy with whatever's going on. I don't know why they're so cranky. I wish I could ask. Perhaps we'll find out in the issue number 5 comic that came with Fortis. Pretty excited to read that. And it looks like they also included a replacement Bum Bum for Mr. Bovis here. Because the hiney screw on Bovis, if my camera will focus, has slight cracking right along that. I don't even know if you can see it in this. It totally doesn't affect anything. You really can't even see it at all unless you've got his legs spread and you're staring at his robo-crotch, so I'm not sure why everyone's so upset about it. It doesn't affect the functionality or the usability of the figure at all, but it's cool that they included a replacement part. That's neat. Thanks, MMC. For robot mode size comparisons, here he is next to MP Bluestreak. And here he is next to Floppy Arms McGee, Generations Blitzwing, for articulation, this guy has full head rotation. As well as a little bit of movement, but not much. Full shoulder rotation. And they are on the same kind of double hinge out jobber that Bovis's arms were on. You have a double elbow, although the back of the arm here gets slightly hampered smashing into this, depending on how you're trying to pose the arm. You have wrist rotation, hand rotation, upper arm swivel, transformation joint on the hand, and the waist swivel. The clicky ratchet joints go from about here, and from about here to about there. So, decent range. Very tight, very sturdy. It's much more satisfying than it should be. Have the mid, upper, lower, upper knee swivel? I don't even know what to call that. You have a leg swivel. You have a knee bend. Also a very sturdy ratchet joint. It's one thing I'll say about both of these figures. Majority of the joints on them, especially their legs, are very stiff. Good stiff, not bad. Feel like you're gonna break it stiff. Like good, solid, just well constructed joints. I don't even know what to call these feet. They're on a lots of things. I mean, they've got the toe articulation. They're on a swiveling bar, which is also on a ball joint. I mean, it's feet situation on these guys is kind of weird. I mean, it's you can get a lot of poses out of them because they have a great range, but they're just kind of strangely constructed. I'm not saying that's a bad thing necessarily. They're just kind of bizarre. Never really seen. Well, okay. Well, off the top of my head, I can't really think of another figure I've seen that have feet quite like that. Has feet. Arms, that. That is pretty much all of his articulation. Alrighty. On to transformation. To start off, for his official transformation, want to come over here, well, go to either of the top arms and gently pry the animal bits, which are pegged. A very dark hole. There's a hole in the bottom of the foot that pegs into another very dark peg right there. So unpeg it from there. Then you want to swivel this entire shoulder part that way, which will allow you to fold the hand on the figure in and collapse the arm so that this tab clips in right up here. Once you're done that, this part will continue to swivel down and it will clip into this black part right here. You might need to apply some pressure inwards like this to get it to snap in properly. Once you've done that, you want to rotate this entire arm around. And rotate the foot out. And do the same on the other arm. Disconnect, rotate, flip in, clip, and clip. Once you've done that, I usually fold the head in. That'll just flip up into the bottom of the robot rhinosaur head. Now, there's a couple different things you have to do on the leg portions of this mold. Usually start by grabbing this whole chunk over here and disconnecting it from the side and spinning it about here so it's flush. And I do the same thing on this side. And once those are flush like that, you can take this foot And what you are trying to do, you want this foot to be backwards. And obviously you can't bend it that way. But this entire portion right here opens up, and you can actually turn the foot and have it slide through like this. So do that on both sides. And then you want to leave these kind of splayed out like this so you can open these as far as you want. Okay. These side panels, which kind of beef out the legs on the robot mode, pull away and rotate back around to this side and plug back in. So they go from the sides over here to the back. Once you have that done, go through all the steps we just went through and undid. Close these two panels up. And these feet have a little hole right there that will peg into this. So once you get these all pegged in, you can peg the feet to the underside. And fold out these legs. We'll untab. Are very tight. Incredibly tight. Freakishly tight. What in Sam hell? Time for the trusty black stick. Whoa. Yeah, so first time unpegging that's going to be real tight, maybe. Was on mine, might be on yours, who knows. And those plug in there. Turn the feet around. Do the same on the other side, hopefully a little bit easier. Yes, wonderful. Turn the foot around. And turn the two back legs around because I did it wrong. So you straighten all the legs out so he doesn't look quite so goofy. And there you have Fortis in his robot beast mode. Oh, fold these. So as I mentioned before, this is the way that the instructions and the box art show the transformation for Fortis with the flat top here. And the alternative transformation for this mold, which is what the box art and instructions show for Bovis, is right here, with this stuff on the bottom and using the chest and the front of the legs as the top. So, as you can see, it definitely gives them a decent amount of variance. They do not look like they are the same exact mold. You can tell that they share some of the same parts, but those look like two different figures, which is nice. And these guys are still pretty hefty in their beast modes. For size comparison, here is Fortis next to Generations Bumblebee. Next to Red Alert. So he's a pretty monstrous big dude. Monstrously big dude. He doesn't have a whole lot of detail on the backside here with the alternate transformation. It looks more kind of like, I don't know, gear or something, but for some reason it works for me. I like the fact that there are two different ways to transform this guy. It's a nice concession to the fact that they are using some mold sharing to cut on production costs, which I don't have a serious problem with, and I think they pulled it off really well with the differences to the color palette and the actual transformation. Apparently I'm unable to speak today. So they both have the same posability. These rotate on ball joints, and they also will extend from the body on the same joint that the robot mode shoulder could take advantage of. So you can get them in some different poses. The back are the same way, although the ball joint on the back won't go out as far, so you only get this range of movement, but the leg can bend out from the body a pretty significant amount. The heads on both figures can rotate all the way around in robot mode as well. And they still have some of the waist rotation, but since those two black portions in here can't rotate past this area, you can't really get that much out of it unless you keep the black thing stored up here, which I think looks kind of ugly. I like tucking them in here so they're kind of out of the way. Now, both of these guys can be kind of armored up with their weapons, and you can also use the feet and hands that they both come with. The feet with the hand cleverly stored inside. Wonderful design. You can use these as kind of gun weapons and attach them to the backs of the figures. There are a row of indents that clip on to these tabs. So you can kind of make them giant, spiky, gunny armor death turtles. Kind of interesting. This one attaches using these two little black pegs right here, which kind of friction in there. Which holds it together surprisingly well. Although, not quite as well as the other version. So, all in all, I'm really very pleased with these guys. I was never a big MMC guy before. Their earlier line, the Night Morphers, was a take on kind of an olden-style, limited run comic. I think it was called Hearts of Steel or something like that. Basically, it took place in some alternate universe in the past in which all of the robots in Transformerdom were like steampunkized or something. I'm not entirely sure. It's definitely not my thing, and it doesn't really fit in with anything in my collection. However, that said, that is totally a design dislike. It's the figures themselves look really interesting, so it's not like I think MMC suddenly figured out how to make cool figures. I just don't like the design or the kind of periodness of their earlier figures. I think these are fantastic. It would be cool if they were completely different molds, I guess. That would be nice, but they would be much more expensive that way, and to be perfectly honest, the differentiation that they managed to get between these two guys, I like. Alright, to wrap things up, obviously these guys both have another mode, being combiner limbs. They both turn into legs and feet for the upcoming Feral Rex combiner. I'm not going to take a look at those modes in this video because I'm going to be showing them off in an actual Feral Rex video whenever the other figures are out. So I don't necessarily think it's going to help anyone make any decisions to show you a disembodied foot. I mean, there are a couple other reviewers on YouTube who have review units and have some early production test shots and stuff like that. If you want to see that, you can go look those up. I will show that off when I have all of these guys together and we can combine them all up. So in the long run, these guys are really good. I think they're very much worth it. I would check them out. If you're a fan of Predaking and you're planning on collecting the whole team, I would definitely recommend these. If you're not necessarily going to be in for the whole thing, I'm not sure if I would buy one of these one-up, but that depends totally on how much you like the individual characters. Either way, they're really solid figures. I will have no concerns about breakage or anything like that. These are two of the most solid figures that I own, and I think they were worth every penny. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.